I think it was 2019. And I just happened to be home in Atlanta and have a very good friend in Macon, Georgia, that he's the curator of the Allman Brothers Big House Museum, Richard Brent. Lovely human. He's a guitar nerd like the rest of us also. And so that's perfect because he basically was the caretaker of Duane Allman's 57 Gold Top. And the guy who owned the guitar at the time and the guy who owns it now, they will allow Richard to take that guitar and be played by people they approve. And I was lucky enough to be approved. I got to play it a lot. It was great. It's a great guitar. Definitely, you feel a ghost in that guitar. So 2019, Richard calls me one day. I was at home in Atlanta. He said, hey, you want to go down to Birmingham and see Metallica? And I thought, well, and he said, I'm going to take the Gold Top to James Hetfield. And I said, yes, I'd love to go. The last time I saw Metallica was 1989. I was 14 years old at Lakewood Amphitheater, and I'm pretty sure I got a little bit of brain damage that night from how loud it was. I mean, it was ungodly, the Injustice for All tour. I'm still talking about it right now. It was a very profound experience. Anyway, so I was like, yeah, I'd love to. That's great. So we go down to Birmingham, which is not very far from Atlanta, and we go in early afternoon. He's like, we need to bring an amp because it's all digital. It's all Kempers and stuff on the tour. And they have a tuning room, and it's all digital in there too for their rehearsal. It's a brilliant way to tour, the way they have it set up. So we took a little Princeton and the Gold Top, and we go in, and that's a big tour, the biggest. I mean, it's huge, vast backstage area, catering and game rooms, and we go in, and James and the tour manager and James's tech, Chad, come in, and they're just fantastic, just so friendly and great hosts. And we play the guitar, James Hetfield and I are passing that, Duane Allman's guitar back and forth. It was crazy. And he sounds like James Hetfield playing through a Princeton on that right hand. It was just like, so he's like you want to see my Explorer? We started showing guitar porn on our phones, to which point it was no different than me and you talking about guitars. He owns a lot of fantastic vintage guitars, James does, So he says, you want to see my Explorer? And I said, yeah. So his tech goes and brings his 58 Explorer, and we play it. And then Kirk Hammett comes in. And I was so wrapped up in that moment, I guess I just wasn't even thinking about anybody else right then, because I was having communion with James Hetfield, showing pictures of our kids and our guitars on our phones. Kirk comes in. He was even sweeter, just an amazing person, and he said, what are you guys doing? He played the Gold Top a bit. At that point, James was like, I got to go do something, I kind of thought maybe they, like any other band, are like, I see you enough. I'm out of here, Yeah. And Kirk says, you want to play Greeny? And I just forgot, I guess. I think it was still pretty new in his owning the guitar. I was like, you're kidding. And he said, yeah, go get it. So his tech goes and brings Greeny in. And man, it was just this surreal experience. That guitar is so worn, and loved and broken and repaired. And so the first thing I do is put it in the middle position and play Oh Well. That's what you do, And I mean, it was, then we took pictures. He's like, let's take some pictures with these guitars. You hold Greeny, I'll hold this. And we did, and I've got them in my phone. And
for the people that don't know what Greeny is.
Greeny was Peter Green's 59 Sunburst Les Paul guitar, which you will hear on, and then play on that beautiful record, or any of their recordings. He always played Greeny. I think maybe he played a Strat on some things, but it was mostly Greeny. But then it was Gary Moore's guitar, and then now Kirk Hammett's guitar. Now at the time, the rumor mill was churning, and he goes, hey, he knows that we're both a part of this guitar community in a way, He goes, what do they have me paying for this guitar? And I was a little like, I'm not supposed to say. You're not supposed to ask me that. I said, shit, man, I don't know. But I think at the point people were like, $4 million, you know. And I said, I don't know, man, lots, you know. And he goes, well, I can't tell you what I paid for it legally because he signed it. I'm in India. He goes, I can tell you what I didn't pay for it, and it ain't what y'all are all saying. I was like, I'm not saying it. I mean, you know, whatever. Good for you. I mean, a guitar is worth what it's worth to you. So, if I had $4 million and somebody said you want to buy Greeny for $4 million, I'd say I sure damn do. You know. But that was it. And then they had to go like do a meet and greet or whatever. And they said, hey, man, you can hang around here. Well, first, the tour manager said, why don't you go to the stage and look around? Do you want to? And so I did. And he goes, after that, you can go to catering or you can hang around in the VIP experience, whatever you want to do before the show, because it was still a couple hours before the show. So Richard and I go down to the stage, and I got to walk around and look at all their guitar rigs. It's in the round, their stage, you know. I got up and got to tap on Lars's drums. That was great. But the doors were already open. People were starting to come in at that point. And I felt a little weird, like, not because anybody would know who I was at a Metallica show, but like, I don't feel like I should be up here. And I went walking around James's guitar area, and his tech let me hold some of his stage guitars, the Snakebite Explorer and all that. They're very light. They're tools for him, you know. And this dude goes, hey, Charlie. And I looked, and he went, Blackberry Smoke. He's like the one dude in the arena that knew who I was. Yes. Yeah. So then we went to the VIP experience because they had food and just a place to hang out before the show, you know. And I was like, okay, this is the new, with the advent of streaming and not selling records. And somebody told me later, said, okay, what their model is the Iron Maiden model. It's all about the VIP fan experience. It's a fan club thing. It's very expensive. They have merch that's exclusive to that area. There's a lot of branded stuff like coolers and watches and Carhartt jackets. And it's business. It's the new music business. Since you don't sell records, you sell everything but a record, you know, everything to do with, and that was the first time I had kind of seen that up close, because in the music business, you kind of get insulated in your own bubble, and you don't really get a chance to go see many concerts that other people are performing, you know.
We're all fighting our own little battles. Yeah,
and I remember sitting there thinking, wow, okay, they've got like full-on white tablecloth dinner service in here in their in their meet and greet, and a Yeti cooler with a big Metallica symbol on it. We don't have that.
Do we know if these two guitars were ever in the same room together before?
I would say they couldn't have been.
Like, did Fleetwood Mac ever play a show with the Allman Brothers?
Wait a minute. Yes, they did. But yeah, the early version of Fleetwood Mac did play shows with the Brothers and the Dead, Fillmore shows. There's some recordings that you can find of Peter Green and Danny Kerwin sitting in with the Brothers, and you can hear who's who. It's damn cool. But I think that Duane didn't have the gold top anymore. Then he was playing that cherry Sunburst Les Paul.
Okay.
So wow, you just blew my mind for a second then, and I was like, wait a minute, no, they didn't. I can show you. You maybe have to edit this. I can show you a picture.
That's pretty damn crazy, man.
Yeah.
That had to feel pretty all right.
You know, it's funny, too, because Kirk, I mean, I didn't take the time to tell them what a huge fan I have been of their music and how that was one of the first big rock and roll shows I went to. One of the first three was their show with the Cult in '89. And it was a life-changing experience. And me and my friends sat and agonized over playing their music because it was so difficult. It is. Learning how to play battery, it's so hard, you know. And, the first thing he said to me, I had been on the cover of Vintage Guitar magazine right at that point. And he goes, hey, I know you. You're on the magazine. I was like, okay, I feel stupid, but thank you, you know. But then later he was like, what is the name of your band? And I said, Blackberry Smoke. And he said, man, I would love to come see you guys. I was like, I would love it if you did. And he hasn't. Jason Newsted has. He came last year, met him in Canandaigua, New York. He lives somewhere in that area, New York, up there. What a fantastic dude. This is off the subject, but kind of on the subject, but he loves our music, and I was honored. You know, he and his wife came and hung out, and we started talking about everything under the sun, and I don't know how we got on the subject. This is later. We became friends that day and have remained friends, and I said something about loving Tom Waits, and he knows him. And I guess that was the first time that I've been like, oh, you're his friend. Oh, y'all texted yesterday, you know.
Tom Waits text.
But he's jammed with him. They did like the Bridge School show together. And that blows my mind.
This music world has the strangest overlaps.
It does. But then it made sense to me. I'm like, of course Tom Waits would love Metallica. I mean, he helped probably invent Metallica just with his way of being, you know, his Tom Waitsism. He could be the perfect vocalist for that genre if he needed to be. He's a template.
I mean this in the most respectful way. When I think of Metallica, I don't think of these guys that have really old vintage guitars. I would think of guys playing Jacksons or something like that. It surprises me that they have this interest in old guitars.
Yeah. And, well, yeah. But if you think about it, like in the early days, they were both playing older. Well, they weren't even old then, maybe. But those Gibson Explorer or Flying V's. James had a white one. Kirk had the black and white one. So Kirk's was a late 70s, I believe, mid to late 70s. And I think at just some point, and they did play Jacksons and
it's more because they're such a reinventing music. So I think of that as a more modern thing, but it can be done with old instruments.
Yeah. Well, when they were playing, I mean, you know, speed metal music, and they were playing speed metal instruments throughout that time, like Cliff was playing an aria bass, and James was he's playing Gibson Explorers then, I think. They were Gibsons. But Kirk was playing that black Jackson. And then like that Fernandez Strat with the EMG. They all played EMG pickups. But then when their music sort of started to evolve and become a little more all-encompassing, and it's like, ooh, that sounds more like Deep Purple or Zeppelin. I think maybe then they were like, ooh, maybe we should play the guitars that those dudes played. I'm just guessing now. Maybe I'm way off. I don't know. Maybe they're like, you don't know shit. I liked that before you were born.
So when I was 17 or 18 years old, we had in Indianapolis, we had this all-ages club called the Sherwood, and there was a band coming called Metallica, and it was Metallica, Wasp, and Iron Saint. Wow. Someone told me Wasp was like Alice Cooper, which, okay, that sounds cool. Uh-huh. And I asked someone what Metallica was like, and they told me they sounded like Triumph. I have no idea what that's about, but I went, and I didn't know music like that existed. Yeah. So I got to see this in this small all-ages club. Holds about 100 people, and it was unbelievably amazing. And it's not my thing at all, but you just realize this exists. Yeah. And you witness it in that environment, and it was the Ride the Lightning tour, and Cliff was with them, and it really stuck with me. And there's those kids in Indianapolis that I remember from that show that grew up to be older kids that I know to this day, and things like that change you, and shape you.
I mean, I remember, to your point, I had moved into a new neighborhood when I was I'd just gotten out of 6th grade, starting the 7th grade in a new school, and I was just so terrified. And it was, I mean, you know, puberty was kicking in, and I met a preacher's kid who wound up being my best friend. He had an upstairs bedroom, which I've never lived in a 2-story house in my life. It was just like, oh my God, it's a mansion. And he had a great turntable set up. This is 86. And he had Master of Puppets. It was brand new. He got it through Nader's Music, our local record store. And he put it on, and it was terrifying. You know? I just saw a meme the other day of the little kid, and he's got the garden hose in the yard pinched, and it's pointing down, and it says acoustic intro, and then over here the big ball of water is battery coming at him. And that's what I was like, this music is terrifying. Like, just the sound of it, you know. And now it's so tame. If you listen to that record now and compare it to like Meshuggah or something, I'm like, man, I had a cousin. I have one first cousin. It's just pretty small family. On my dad's side of the family is my sister, myself, and our one older first cousin. And he lived in California, and he would come for Christmas every year. And he rode skateboards and rode BMX bikes and liked punk. And Black Flag, Minor Threat, Bad Brains, Agent Orange, Circle Jerks. And I was way more baffled by that music because that was younger. That was more like 82, 83, 84. And I remember he had My War. And I wanted to be like him because he was so cool. And he had checkerboard Vans and Panama Jack shorts. And he put on My War, and I was like, I remember being like, I like this. Oh, man. And I laugh with him about it now. I'm like, I was trying so hard to get it because he loved it, you know. And I love it now as I grew older because I'm, you know, in that very moment, it could have been like, I'm hearing Hank Williams Jr. and Black Flag.
The other Hank.
Like, yeah, exactly. I told Brian Baker that story. Brian Baker of Minor Threat and Junkyard and Bad Religion. And I said because he came to see us years ago. I met him in Atlanta at the Tabernacle. And he said, he knew I was a big Junkyard fan. And I was excited to meet him. Eric, our merch guy, was more excited to meet him because he's an original member of Minor Threat. So he was like first generation American punk rock musician, you know. And we talked a lot about that. I told him about the cousin experience. And anyway, so music.